So today we're talking about mindfulness and fertility. Does it really make a difference? So we are going to focus on 4 questions. What is, hi Connie. So Connie, the fertility nurse from the US. And today we are going to answer 4 questions. Number 1, what is mindfulness? Number 2, how can mindfulness... Hi Connie, how are you?
Hi Andrea, good, how are you?
I'm okay.
It's nice to be here.
Yes, I was just saying that today we're talking about a topic that we are both very passionate about, which is mindfulness and fertility. And I was saying we are going to try and aim answering 4 questions. What is mindfulness? Does it really make a difference in your life? What does research say about mindfulness and fertility? And finally, how do you actually make mindfulness work when you are having treatment? What do you think?
Wow. Well, you know what? Fertility or not, we all know. I think the word mindfulness is really trendy. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but it's a buzzword, and everybody's a little intimidated by it, and they think it's a little woo-woo, you know?
Yeah.
But it is very scientific. It's been well studied and well practiced, at least here in the U.S. And mindfulness, truly, Andrea, as we all know, it all is all about just being aware. Just being aware. There's no special techniques. There's no special meditations. There's no special praying to anybody or doing anything. It's just being absolutely present in your moment and being aware in your moment and making a connection to whatever you want to connect to.
Exactly. So it's being present. And I love that you said that it doesn't take any special routine or technique. It's all about tapping into things that you already do naturally. It's about creating a pause in your day-to-day life.
Yes, exactly. You said that very beautifully. It is. It's a pause. It's about stopping. You know, I think especially as women, we all feel that when we multitask, we're like, you know, excellent. We're excellent caregivers, professionals, women, entrepreneurs, if we could do 10 things at the same time. And actually research is showing that those types of people aren't as successful. Exactly. Mindfulness is about doing one thing at a time, right? And really being aware of that one thing and connecting with it, being present with it, instead of all over the place and managing multiple things at the same time.
Yeah, there's a
and it applies.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, so I think it really is great with fertility, you know, with any type of health struggle. I always like to look at fertility as a positive thing in pursuing. And it's looking at what we want to be mindful about. And what is it that we want to be mindful about when we're going through fertility treatments or we're going through certain diagnosis of any type of disorder in our body, right? It's just about being aware and making our minds connect with what we want our bodies to work like and how we envision that to work.
So we have a question here. Someone is asking that on a really bad day, what tips can we give to get more focused?
Yeah, boy, on a really bad day, if you're pursuing fertility treatments and a really bad day is a negative pregnancy test or a miscarriage or another treatment cycle or another diagnosis, it's so overwhelming. I do believe in just taking a step back from that and taking a breath, right?
Yeah.
And I know that everybody thinks, well, yeah, what do I do after my breath? It's being aware and being okay that you just received the bad news, right? It's being okay with receiving that news so you can move forward.
Yeah, I think there's a key definition in mindfulness, which is being non-judgmental. So we are noticing our thoughts or feelings or the circumstances that are happening to us right now, but not being judgmental, not thinking about what does this mean to me, or this is really bad, or each situation is just what it is.
Yes.
And it's when we start thinking about the future that hasn't happened yet, or the past that we can't control, that we lose those mindful moments. So mindfulness is just about being in the present moment. And I think against what most of us believe, a lot of people believe that mindfulness is about feeling good, and it's not. It may actually make you feel bad, because it's just about acknowledging what is happening right now. And if what is happening right now is shitty, that's how you will feel.
That's how it is. And it's okay. You have to feel shitty, right? We have to feel these things and be aware of it, so we know how to move out of that place. Because the actions that you presently take will take you someplace. We just don't know where, because we can't predict where that will take us.
Yeah.
But I think, as I talk with a lot of our patients or clients with negative pregnancy tests, or, you know, whatever it is, another cycle of a treatment, or, you know, an additional diagnosis that hurts them, you know, emotionally, I really tell everybody just to kind of step back from that and not to be really anything with it. But if you want to be sad with it, be sad with it, because we can't ignore it. It's sad, right? And so let's be with sadness and be aware of sadness. And then we have the strategies then on dealing with sadness and the process of grieving and where that's at. It's just being aware of where we're at in that moment.
Yeah, and so in terms of overall life, what I've found by applying mindfulness in my life has been reducing stress. It has enhanced my performance, because a lot of times I was getting stuck into worried. I have a very large to-do list. I was focused on, I'm not being able to do everything I want to do. And that was preventing me from doing the best I could on the task that I was doing at the time.
Right.
So just by being mindful and accepting that I can't do everything at once, or I can't do everything in a day or in a week, has allowed me to perform better with the task that I'm doing at the moment. And I really love this quote. I'm going to read it to you from a book called The Power of Now. And it says, the quality of our consciousness at this moment is what shapes the future. And I love it.
So true. And you know what, if you don't feel the sadness, if you don't feel the anger, if you let it just be and you are with it, then you will be able to feel the happiness, because you can now tell the difference, right? So you're acknowledging and being aware of your now, of the sadness or your anger about a specific situation. But as time evolves, that becomes the past then. That emotion is past and past and past, right? Like what we're doing, it's already in the past. So when you can look at an emotion that you're striving for, the joy, how can we know joy if we don't experience, aren't aware of the sadness and how we're progressing, right? So for some, we may not see that positive pregnancy test without all the things that go in between. But if we're preparing for a cycle, for pregnancy, we prepare for it. We don't prepare for it not to work. We prepare for it to work, right?
Exactly.
And so many people are afraid of that, right? They're afraid. So we all deal with all that fear of the future. So if you recognize that in mindfulness, you say, okay, I'm in the future. I'm in the future, right? So let's pull it back and do a head-to-toe check.
I love that, because on the topic of looking at mindfulness research and how it affects fertility, it's actually those thoughts of fear that trap us up. It's the fear of not the uncertainty about the future, of not having our reproductive goals met, and then the consequences of that, the fear of not being loved. Is my partner going to leave me, or am I not good enough, or all those fears that so many times are unfounded fears that, that will affect our ability to cope with the treatment, because treatment is really, really hard. It requires all our energy, and if our energy is going towards all these directions, it's even more difficult.
Right. You know what, I think that what you said is so important. You know, you can have a negative pregnancy test for an example. That negative pregnancy is where you're at presently, but as we go through time, it's actually in the past. But what we do is we keep creating that moment of, I'm never going to be pregnant. My husband's going to leave me, or my partner's going to leave me, and this will never happen. What am I going to do? How am I going to live? I'm worth nothing. We're showing the future of things that aren't even happening.
Yeah.
And so being mindful, if our minds go there, this is where we step back, the strategy, to take a breath and to check in with yourself and say, okay, I'm sitting here. I'm safe. I'm safe right here in my moment. You know, and so if we can start from there and continue to be there, which is really difficult to do, you know, you do need support around you to help all these practices to do that. But I will tell you, when you are aware, when you're going through moment after moment, you can pull it back and you can sit in your chair and go, I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm okay, you know, without predicting what it is all going to be all out in the future when that hasn't even happened.
Yeah, we have here another comment from someone who had cancer and said that my oncologist suppressed my depression because they didn't let me save my fertility when with time, and they didn't want to talk about it. So after suffering the grief, she has accepted and she raises awareness on fertility preservation. I think it's there's a lot of healthcare professionals who still need to learn a lot about this emotional side of things. And I'm so sorry that you've had to go through this experience, but it's very good that you managed to cope and come out the other end and find that good way forward of giving back and talking to other people about fertility preservation.
Yes, and I too am so sorry for your experience and what you've been through, but I look at whatever actions that you took at that moment and where you're at today and being an advocate and continuing your healing process. It is so important, and it's so inspiring that you were able to continue to grieve and to grow and to continue on in your works of advocating for that. It's so important.
And she says here, I accept that sometimes we have bad days and sometimes we don't get to choose. And that's really the key point, because we don't get to choose what happens, but we get to choose how we respond. Yes. That is the key.
That's key. And it sounds like your choices on the things that happened to you and the choices on how you chose to go forward have been very positive for you. Mm-hmm. And it does not mean that they were easy. Absolutely does not mean that it was easy.
Yeah. And looking at fertility and mindfulness, I was looking at several studies, and I was surprised that there is actually a lot of studies and recent studies, good quality data, telling us that programs where patients went through mindfulness programs, so going through 1 month or 10 sessions, or every study had different programs, but all of them said that it improves the fertility quality of life of patients. Mm-hmm. And that's so important, because women and men going through infertility have poor quality of life compared to fertile women and men. So if we can improve that with a strategy that is free of cost, you can practice it on your own. You don't have to pay for it. And it's so easy. You don't have to develop any new or challenging skills. I think it's something that maybe clinics should be advocating more for.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And you know, all the research is very clear on how fertility treatments cause stress, right? So there's a lot of great data that stress doesn't cause infertility, but we certainly do know that fertility treatments do cause stress.
Exactly.
And so, with the protocol should always be some type of mindfulness management and working with a clinician, working with a support system side by side to help manage that. So when you have a black and white protocol for your cycle, it's connecting with that, connecting your ovaries, connecting your uterus, connecting yourself to this protocol. You need someone to help be at your side to manage that with you, because it is too much to manage as we continue to learn how to manage things, Yeah.
I found another interesting finding that I know that a lot of people going through treatment, there are a lot of triggers. For example, seeing other people who are pregnant. And our initial coping mechanism might be to avoid those triggers as a way of coping or not feeling distressed. So one of the findings of these studies was that practicing mindfulness helped people develop better coping mechanisms that didn't involve avoidance. So they were more constructive.
Yes. And I think that's really important. There are a lot of schools of thought, right? So years ago, and how we live today, with anything in life, don't put yourself in situations that are triggers, right? So if you know that you might not have that strength on that particular day to pull out that strategy of mindfulness or pull out a strategy, you might choose to avoid, right? You might just choose to avoid that party or that shower or whatever it may be. But the other side of that is that everybody has their story, right? And so if we can mindfully know where we're at and not connect our story to their story, that one who is pregnant or that one is whatever, and not make that our story, because it's not a comparison. We're not living life in comparing or competing. That's their story, and I have my story, and they're all very individual, very unique, and very different. And so we can't take on that story. They're the expert of their story. We're the expert of ours. And so if you're mindful, you got to sit and really practice, like, okay, that belongs to me, but I don't want it. Doesn't belong to me, right? Why am I feeling that? So I'm going to push that away and deal with it. And sometimes to push that away and deal with it is don't go, right? You just don't go to certain things so you can continue to take care of you.
Yeah. And
does that make sense?
Putting yourself first. I was looking at a few studies that did a longer follow-up of 6 months of these patients who went through mindfulness programs. And it was interesting to find that the group that went through mindfulness had higher pregnancy rates. So it's something that maybe patients should be aware of, isn't it?
It is. And what's hard is making the time, right, to go seek out a professional or go, a lot of times programs will say, well, we have, psychologists on board, which are great. But some people are just like, well, I don't need to see a psychologist. I don't need that. I just need something, but people don't know what it is. And so that would be great if our clinics, all of them, oh my gosh, it would be so awesome. We would be very busy, right? To put that point person in to just manage that, checking in with everybody, checking in. As simple as, how's it all going? Whether you're on a Clomid cycle or an IVF cycle or a donor cycle, whatever it may be, a fertility preservation cycle, just to have that humanness to check in with you, to keep creating that mindful experience of I am okay, is really important.
And thinking into the last question of incorporating into the treatment, I think that is I think it would be a great asset for clinics, just to have someone available to connect with patients in that way and show them it's not rushing, it's okay and takes time, and they are a person. They're not just a number to that clinic.
Right. Well, yeah, because treatments along with just our own, self of treatments, going to treatment centers is stressful. Dealing with people in centers are stressful. There's so much that keeps piling up. So to really have an advocate or someone that is at your side, supporting you, mentoring you, educating you along the way, really does aid to a positive outcome. Now, I'm not going to guarantee you it's going to put a baby in your arms, but what I do guarantee is that you learn these strategies, you feel well supported. Andrea, and you probably feel the same way when you work with a couple or you work with a person coping with difficult times of fertility. And they walk out of your clinic or out of your office without a baby in their arms and pursuing another path, for them to embrace you, to thank you for that journey, that you've actually helped them get to that next stage of resolution, is so important. You can't do it by yourself. No, you just can't do it by yourself.
Those are very challenging steps for people to make. But I'm thinking about someone who has never done mindfulness and wants to start tomorrow. So one of the things that I started doing in the beginning was introducing mindfulness into normal activities of my day-to-day. So for example, brushing my teeth, just being mindful of what I was doing instead of just doing it as an automatic
autopilot. Yes.
So being mindful of what you're doing as you're brushing your teeth is a very easy way of getting started.
Right.
And then
drinking your cup of coffee or your cup of tea, right?
Breakfast, exactly.
You sip your tea. The tea is hot. The tea is clear tasting. The tea tastes like lavender. The tea is this. I enjoy this, this moment. Yes. It's all of a sudden, it's just wakening up your mind.
Yes.
That it's paying attention. It's paying attention to what your present moment is.
Yeah. So after doing those little mindful moments with food and other activities that we do usually quickly as routine, I usually tell people to listen to a body scan mindfulness. So here it just takes 3 minutes, and it's a recording they can get off YouTube, and it's guiding them on where to focus their attention on their body. So I think that's a great next step. What do you think?
I think so. Again, it's drawing attention because you want change, and it's making a choice. It's making an active choice, of doing that. And I will tell you, with practice, from your teeth, brushing your teeth to drinking your tea to checking in from head to toe, how does everything feel in your body? You almost look forward to taking that breath and taking a step back and saying, okay, I'm aware right now. My shoulders are in my ears and I am stressed because I'm sad. I'm going to be with it, and I'm going to relax my shoulders because they don't belong up in my ears like this, right? And I'm going to just relax, and I'm aware that as I take my breath, my body's feeling better.
Exactly.
My mind, and so you're just working through that, and it could sound like it's silly, but I will tell you, for how simple it is and making it sound, it's so powerful.
Yes. And I would say that writing down things that happened during the day that you enjoyed is also a way of being mindful, because a lot of the times at least that's what I see in people who are quite young, we are always busy and we forget to celebrate our achievements. It's always looking for the next thing. So writing down things that we are grateful for is really, really good. I think it helps us validate that to the universe, this is what I want in my life. And it's about being mindful of those special moments.
Yeah. And so even for, as simple as morning appointments, going into your doctor's office at 7 a.m., you have to wake up at 4:45. so you can shower, get ready, get to your appointment by 7 to get to work by 8, right? You can sit in your car instead of just being like, I hate that I'm doing this. I hate it. So you know what? Look at what I did. I'm so excited. I made it to work on time. I made it to my monitoring appointment on time, and I have a follicle today.
Exactly.
You know, and so it's those things. It's just looking at through a different lens, perhaps.
And if you could give one last advice to anyone wanting to incorporate mindfulness into their fertility journey, what advice would it be?
Call me. No, I'm kidding.
That's certainly a good call to action.
Call us. I think if you're considering it and you're not sure how you feel about it, take a step back and sit and take a deep breath. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. Do it a couple times and see how you feel.
Yeah.
Like, do it right now, right? We can do it right now. So yeah, what about you?
I think my advice would be, don't overthink it. You don't need any special tools, and just start by, if you haven't had dinner today yet, just start by being mindful about dinner. Look at the colors on the plate, look at how it smells, and then bring it closer, see how the texture feels in your mouth, and then the taste. And I think that would be a good thing that you could do straight away today.
Like right now, I know right now I'm practicing mindfulness. I'm looking at your beautiful jacket, the bright color with your beautiful lipstick and the way your hair looks. You look amazing. I'm having a mindful moment. I'm having a mindful moment.
Well,
that's how easy it is.
I absolutely love this Insta Live. I'm going to make it available for YouTube and IGTV so that other people can join us and see it after 24 hours. And I'll see you again next week.
Yeah. Okay. Stay tuned. I hope, please invite more people, everybody who's out there, because it's just fun conversations with nurses who really care, who are educated, experience, and can really make a difference in your journey. So good luck, and to all of you, be and stay well.
Bye. See you next week.